All right, all right. So we're gonna start the English Conversation Seminar 1 class. This is the end of unit number 3. So we are almost finishing the course because we have one unit left. And this unit, we have been talking about conversation techniques, but not just techniques, actually, conversation techniques that can help you present. And we have been practicing actually orally presenting. You did some oral presentations and you performed really well, actually, some weeks ago. And over this class, we are just going to try to summarize what you are supposed to do with visual aids. And once you know what you're doing on your visual aids, it's about practicing. And then once you know about that, the practice should include knowing your audience. And knowing your audience is a little more complex because this involves something that is related to psychology, the psychology of the audience. How do you know that they are happy or mad, that they are really interested in your topic or not? How do you understand what your audience might be thinking when you are speaking? And this is basically very much related to a in-person presentation, not really related or straight related to this kind of video conference presentation related, because this is way different, especially the one that we are having right now. Since we have different internet connections, we have problems and we cannot see each other. It would be perfect if all of us could have our cameras open and we could just be seeing each other, because that will give the person who is presenting uh, all of the options to understand the body language from the audience. But since it is very complex right now, we're going to refer to this type of oral presentations in person, like persona presentations, face to face presentations. Yes, I know that we might have to continue relating to video conference presentations, but in this sense, we need to understand the complexity of being in different areas and having different internet connections. Okay, so with that said, yes, it's about summarizing what the visual aids should be, what we can include, especially if we are using a PowerPoint presentation file, if we are using slides from a PowerPoint presentation. But we also are going to refer almost at the end about using Prezi, which is also interesting, but we need to be very careful also using Prezi. So with that said, we're going to talk about planning, preparation, practice, performance questions, which are also very, very important. The questions, part of you, the presenter, and also should be part of the audience. So first part is about who are you talking to, which is about knowing your audience. Why are you talking to them? Uh, right until now, you have been preparing oral presentations because one of your professors have asked you to present, but you're almost over finishing your major, your Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering. So you are about to start presenting to some other people, and especially to people at work. And for that, you need to prepare and know the real reason why you are presenting. It won't be anymore about having a grade in a class. It will be about presenting your projects. It will be about defending some thoughts that you have about the job, about the description of the job, or about defending a report that you have presented. So it should be very important. It should be very, very important to know the reasons of your presentation. And not just knowing them, but understanding them to the core. I don't know if you understand what this means, but it's entendiendo desde el fondo, to the core. That's what I mean. So how long have you got? Timing. Timing has been always very, very important. It's very important to know how much time do you have. And of course, what story are you going to tell? Sometimes, and the best presentations are not just about the topic. They always relate a story. But again, it will depend on the audience that you have. And the best way to do your visual aids is to sketch slides, to have a sort of like a draft before the final slides. Prepare them, proofread them, check them, make sure that they are good and that they don't have grammar mistakes. It's very, very bad to have your audience noticing that you made several mistakes, not just one, but well, one will make you disconnect from the audience. But more than that, you can just lose your audience just because your grammar is not good in your slides. Prepare notes, yes, some phrases, some notes that can actually be outside your PowerPoint presentation or your slides or your Prezi or whatever it is that you're using for slides, for visuals. You can also use little cards that you can carry with you, and that's okay. Little cards or small cards are a very good tool to remember, and they should be small because they shouldn't distract your audience. We already know that. I remember about a year or 2 years ago watching you presenting and bringing your notebooks to the front. So that was like, that's a no. That's the first no. So the outline should be about the content, what you're gonna have on your slides. And usually you should consider about 1 to 2 minutes per slide. So generically for a presentation, you can think about 15 minutes presentation, but it also depends on what your audience is. I'm going back to that because if this is about your job, sometimes the whole hour of the meeting is given to you for your presentation. Sometimes when you are presenting in a classroom, the whole hour or even more time is given to you. So you need to know about the time and prepare for that time. This recommendation that comes here in this outline about 5, 6, 7, 8, it's about like 10 slides, where you can decide to put your cover page, the title, the author, and the rationale. You can or cannot decide to use this, but it's usually the rationale is about the introduction, and you can use these slides to also gather the attention from the audience. Methods. It's about explaining what you are presenting there, and this usually for research or investigation presentations, it will have to include the method. You should present results, and of course, at the end, you should summarize the ideas that you were presenting. And one of the most important things to use on slides is images and graphics. It's more relevant to communicate and to keep the interest of the audience to use images and graphics, of course. And you should avoid what I'm showing you right now, moving things. This is too distracting. We don't use them anymore, the animation effects, but we still see people using them, and it's like, you shouldn't. I mean, and even like this is not even relevant. I mean, what are we using some fish? Probably if we were in the biology department and if we are talking about fish, we could be using that image. But even like that, it wouldn't be a recommendation to use this type of images or animation effects or moving the Oh, I'm looking for I'm just looking for this. Sorry, for the laser pointer. So using those movements from the text, using some images that are not part of the presentation is like too much. It's too much. Just done. It's a done. So like this guy over here is like, it's not related to anything. This guy over here is like, you can get lost just by looking at that image. And we already said about the fish. So it's like, no, it's a big no with the fish. So we should just avoid that. So a good example for visual evidence for images, pictures, is like, for example, over here, when you're talking about reducing vortices in nature, you can include about talking about a shark and how the fin of the shark works, and these will be good examples for fluid dynamics. You can also include the design of a submarine to talk about those dynamics on fluid, and that is good visuals, good evidence, and it's just the visuals, and then you can just keep talking about the topic. That's what we should relate to. And of course, take a look at this. This image was from one of the presentations from Penn State. At the end, you can see the references used, and you can just go and look for them. One of the most important things over here is don't forget to proofread your visual. Again, like I was mentioning before, we need to remember about grammar. We need to remember about the connection between one visual and the other visual. If we forget about those, it's like, it doesn't really matter if it looks good. If we have some problems with our visuals, and of course, if we forget to practice about this, it's gonna end up not good for our presentation. And again, it's like, remember that the second part of this topic, which is actually going to be work for you, it's about the mood of the audience. ¿Cómo se siente your audience? So if you forget about paying attention to your visual aids, it's going to create the wrong mood of your audience. And your audience may end up like looking like this. Or like what we see in an auditorium, going like this, sitting down, trying to sleep. Your audience might be distracted in the phone. So you want to just engage to them. And one of the basic things when you're using visual aids is to proofread. Proofread. Checar, revisar, leer your visual aids. Okay, so don't forget that. Minimize text and numbers. That's a good recommendation. It's going to come on next slides. I want to show you these for education. Normally, we have a rubric. Whenever you're presenting, there's always points that we checked. In school, especially in university, that you have been presenting like crazy. In every class you present, even if it's math, if it's a math or physics or chemistry class, you present at least once in a semester. So the good thing from a school or from our university is like you get skills when you're presenting, and usually we grade you, we give you a grade from your content, your grammar, your handouts and media that you're using, the organization, the vocabulary that you use, and of course, the oral delivery. You need to remember something at this point. Recuerde bien. You need to remember something. Visual aids are very important. They should be part of your presentation. They should be. It's better. It's a more professional way to present something when you have visual aids because it helps engaging the audience. But, like, it shouldn't be the whole thing. We've been talking up through this day. We've been talking about conversing skills. We've been talking about organizing your information. We have been talking about how to deliver the information, how your mood should be, how your tone should be, that you can move it up and down. But that is what is more important. The majority of the percentage of your presentation should be in you, how you are delivering that information. That's why the body language, you shouldn't forget to engage the interest of your presentation through yourself. Visual aids are aids, ayudas visuales. They shouldn't be the whole presentation because you are the person who is delivering the presentation. So just remember, the most important part is you on an oral presentation. That's why you need to prepare, and you also need to practice. Okay, so just remember that visual aids are very, 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 very important. You need to prepare them, yes, but they shouldn't be the first attention. The attention should be on your person, on you. Okay, so when you're talking about the slides, you need to remember about colors also. Colors, color balance. If you're using light text, like in here, I'm using white. If you're using light text, you should use a dark background. Like this one is dark gray. And you can see from the title on preparation slides is the opposite. Dark font, clear background. So you just need to remember on those context, on the difference on colors. Take a look at this. When you have the same colors, it's kind of hard to try to understand what it's written there, what it says in there. So it's like, if the audience is trying to understand your slides and they can't, you can lose your audience. It's too distracting. You don't want that to happen, right? Avoid distracting backgrounds, yes, unless the background is related to the presentation. If it is not, just avoid them. Use a simple one like this one in white. It's fine. Use large sans serif fonts. What are the sans serif fonts? These ones here. Normally the recommended are these ones, Helvetica or Arial. Like Times or Times New Roman, they are more formal or very serious type of fonts, and they are usually more or they're usually better for a written report. But for something that you are orally presenting and for your visual aids, it's easier to use fonts like Arial or Helvetica. Why? Because of the way that the surrounding of the words on the fonts, the letters, they are better. If you are gonna have an audience looking from far away, like 6, 7, 12, 18 meters away from the slide, it's easier to read when you use Helvetica or Arial. It's much easier for your audience. The recommendation of the size of the font also. It's better recommended to use bigger size font, like 36, 32, or at least 24. PowerPoint as a default selection, it brings about 16 points, and it's usually small, very small, especially if you're going to present something from for an audience that is going to be far from the screen where you're showing your slides. So that's why it's there, or it's a better recommendation to have bigger fonts. All capital letters. No, no. It's harder to read. So for a title, that's fine, but not for the rest of the text. We already know that. And we already know that in language in language communication, if you use just capital letters, it may relate to your audience like you are mad, like if you're screaming or yelling to them, like, oh, I don't care about you. No, you don't want to do that. That's what I'm saying. This, like, capital letters, it's okay for titles, and that's it. Or if you want to emphasize a word, that's fine, but not the whole thing. Mm-mm. And it's also hard to read when you are from afar. Colors, or if you want to highlight text, you can relate to different colors, and it's perfectly fine because you're making a point to your audience to take a look at those different colors. Just be careful on not using them too much. Because if you highlight like 10 different words with 5 different colors in the same slide, it's like, it's kind of confusing. Even for you, when you're presenting, it's like you're looking at your slides and you may be like, is this okay? You may start even confusing your colors. So try to use them to the minimum, but it's a good option to highlight with different colors the way that I'm using them in here. And of course, the figures, graph, keep them simple. Look at this graph. In a white background with yellow bars, yellow titles, and a bright blue background. A total disaster. It's very hard to even see the titles. It's like, what? The label down there? Oh, it's condition. Like, I can't even see it. Like, no, this shouldn't be allowed in any presentation. Fortunately, most of you that are here present in this class, most of you don't use this. Thanks to God. That's really good. Thick lines and large symbols, you need to be careful on how you use them. In terms of the size of your graph, for example, what you're seeing here, it's like the font or the letters are too big, and then your points are big. So it's like, what's the point on even using this graph if it's going to end up very confusing? Like, what's going on here? So we need to just be very, very careful with the information, how we are presenting it. We just said that it's way better. It's good to keep images and graphs in your presentations. You just gotta be careful on the colors, the size, and well, all of it related. Progressive disclosure. You need to keep moving forward on a presentation. That's what means progressive. It should start from, for example, it should start from the most simple things and then move to the most complex things. But the best example on how you can progress is the normal, the most common one. It's about having an introduction. It's about having a body of your presentation. And of course, it's about having a closing, a closure, a conclusion, or a summary. But you need to close your presentation. Prezi, I decided to mention it here. It's not really like slides. It's different, like PowerPoint, of course. It gives a way on presenting in a different criteria, actually, because you can have, like in here and on your left, you can build a different path. un camino diferente on how you can follow your slides. Prezi are very good, Prezis, but if your images are moving too fast, take a look at what it says here in the second paragraph. If images move too fast and the timing is not correct, it can make your audience dizzy. Se pueden marear. So if you're going to go and use a Prezi presentation for your visual aids, you need to watch it carefully. Be very careful on your pathway and the movements that you add to your slides, because it can get very distracting. And once you distract your audience too much, you're done with your presentation. So yes, Prezi is a good recommendation. It's good if you want to use them. Personally, I use them like once or twice in a class during the whole semester. I use one or two just because I want to switch or change something in a class, but I don't like to use them the whole time because yes, it's distracting and I want to keep the audience engaged, but it's good to have some change sometimes. So yes, it's well recommended. You just need to be more careful with Prezi, more careful, because it keeps moving. It zooms in and then it zooms out. And then sometimes those transitions of movements give you a little confusion on it. So be careful about that. And I wanted to get here. Practice, 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 practice. How can you practice? Look for an audience. You have your classmates here. Ask them. You can practice by yourself. That's good. That's the first thing to do. But then you can tell them, hey, I need to practice my presentation. Can I practice with you? Can you be my audience? Can you listen to me? Can you give me feedback? And that's before you even present, because you want to have feedback. You want to use that feedback, and you want to give a great presentation. You want to keep your audience engaged. And for that, practice, you know this phrase that is very famous. Practice makes perfect. La práctica lo hace perfecto. But if you don't practice, how many times have we seen oral presentations that, especially if they are on a team, on a community, one or two of that team, they know about the information, and the other three people, they are lost. They don't even know what comes on the slides. Why? Because they didn't practice. So the key for an oral presentation, the key, la clave para una exposición is to practice. To practice. If you want to succeed, to have a successful presentation, you better practice. So the performance, ¿cómo presentas? When you are presenting, if you make a mistake, it's recommended not to really apologize, unless it was a very bad mistake or you were misleading your audience. But when you apologize for something, it makes it change the mood, the way that your audience is receiving your information, and you missed it. You lost everything. You need to speak loud and clear. Not speak loud, not speak very loud. You see, it's very hard to listen or to try to grab, you just take a look at the audience and it's like at the presenter as an audience, you're like, is he speaking? Is he moving? Like, no, you need to be loud, clear. You need to gesticulate. You need to move your body, but especially the muscles on your face, because you need to transfer your mood as the presenter to your audience. Use short and simple sentences. We talk about this with the other classes before. For the past few weeks, we have talked about this. The sentences that you should use, the kind of information that you should include, and that's what avoid jargon and abbreviations mean. Vary the pitch, the tone, the volume, the speed, and pauses. We talked about this before, so we just include this in this slide, but you already know that. Avoid distracting mannerisms, those like tics that you have. I remember for some of you, when you used to present in classes about a year ago, you will be dancing when you will be presenting. It's like, but that's because you lacked practice, because you didn't practice before, and then your nervousness gets represented by those movements. And unconsciously, you keep on doing them, but then it's so distracting. So you need to just relax and be enthusiastic, make eye contact, keep an eye on the time remaining. You need to remind yourselves that it's all about timing perfectly. Don't go over time ever. This is a very, very good recommendation. When you're checking your time, remember this: everybody's time is important. Everybody's time is precious. El tiempo de todos es importante. El tiempo de todos es precioso. That's why you need to be careful about remaining on the same time that you are supposed to give the presentation. You have been given time, use them. Use it wisely, but don't go over time. Questions. When you're presenting, you need to anticipate what the questions will be. And that's why practicing with some other people, with classmates, with peers, with friends, gives you the feedback and also gives you feedback about questions, which is very, very good. And a good advice, prepare extra slides with the answers. If you anticipate this, prepare extra slides with the answers. Maybe even planned or something that will impress the audience when you have the answer well managed and also in visuals. It's seen, or it makes you look from the audience, it makes a different look, that they will see you, that you are super well prepared, that you know what you're doing, and they pay even more attention to you when you are prepared to receive the questions and to answer the questions in a very successful manner. It's seen like, yeah, you can eat the whole world because you know what you're doing. So that's anticipation. Anticipate the questions and prepare extra slides with the answers. It's perfect. You can paraphrase questions when somebody asks you something, then you can repeat the question so that the audience, the rest of the audience, hears the question again and then prepare to answer. And you can also repeat the question, paraphrasing what the other person asked you, because on that time you help your brain understand a little more the information that you need to give back. So it's very good. It's very, very good to just repeat the question. To stall while you think about an answer, you can also ask for a few seconds, or you can tell your audience, let me think, déjeme pensar por unos segundos. That's okay, because it gives the person who is asking, it reassures, it gives security that you are going to answer. Le da la seguridad de que sí le va a contestar. But if you don't know the answer, you just tell the audience, oh, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. I can find out. I can ask if somebody here knows the answer. Does anybody knows about this? Does anybody have the background to answer the question? But we always need to remain true to ourselves. If we don't know, just say that we don't know. Don't start making lies. No mienta. Solo diga que no sabe, and that's it. Period. So in summary for this presentation, like most things, the best way to learn is to do. Yes. So it's like, we talk about visual aids, we talk about concentrating, using font size, using colors, using images, graphs. So that's what we're going to practice for the rest of this week, for the following week. So we are going to prepare visual aids. But about what? So remember that this class should be about two topics, visual aids and the audience mood. So if we take a look at this slide, we can see the different moods in the audience. Some of them are engaged, like this person here. Some of them are distracted, like this person. Some of them are falling asleep, like this person and this other person here. So we are going to talk about the audience mood. Everybody here is going to present slides about the audience mood. And that's the homework. It's about investigating, but I'm giving you the first part of the investigation. You need to go and look for these videos. One video is from the HDD public speaking. It's about the audience analysis. There's another video that is called also the audience analysis from COMM Padres Media. And there's also another one that is not called the same. It's called How to Engage an Audience from Patrick Highland from TED Talks. And they're all, the three of those videos are in YouTube. This is the first part that I'm sending you there to start investigating. Your slides, this is the homework. This is what you're gonna be doing the next few days. You're going to start watching these videos. By watching these videos, you are going to collect information from them. And then you're going to keep investigating, and then you're going to prepare slides for this with this information. So I'm going to be creating your visual aids that you are going to be using all the information that we include here. So for the homework, so let me just choose a whiteboard so I can explain a little more. For the homework, you are going to prepare visual aids. And that's what you're submitting. That's lo que van a entregar, okay? So your visual aids, you can use, that's your decision. You can use PowerPoint or you can use Prezi. That's fine with me, as long as it is not so distracting. How many visual slides? You're gonna use about 10 slides. And the topic, as we said, is about your audience mood. Those videos that I'm suggesting, that I'm forcing you to go and see and check them, those videos have, you can click on the captions or subtitles, the English subtitles. You're not gonna see Spanish there, of course. But those videos, they're gonna give you a lot of information related to this. So you need to write down the information and try to put all of that information into the slides. That is going to give a very nice information, interesting information that might engage any type of audience. So while you are learning about this topic, you're also practicing about visual aids. And yes, you are working on this. And so that's about the homework. It's going to be about investigating, it's going to be about searching more information about the mood of the audience and how to engage them by using visual aids. Any questions from anyone?
No. No.
So everything is very clear.
No, no question.
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna start thinking that I'm so good at explaining everything. So Gabby says no. Carmen, Alex, Tony. So everybody's like, no, that's fine. Okay, so again, it's like a very simple homework, but you need to pay attention to it. You're not going to present this one, so you just need to be careful on the way that you work on your slides. I already know that Alejandro, it's very good on visuals, but we're gonna see how it ends up with this one. Okay, good.
Okay.
So we finished the class for today.